Good morning, LKN. 7:34. We're back at it today. Happy Monday to you. Hope you had a good weekend. Representative Saine joins us right now on video stream. You can be watching on WSICnews.com, also all the social platforms. Representative Saine rocking the UNCC gear this morning, holding true. How you feeling after the weekend, Coach? How you feeling?
You know what? A little down. Expected a win, but you know what? We went in as the underdogs, even at home. Georgia State had beat UConn the week before, so turns out we just couldn't put it all together. I think Coach is getting everything dialed up. I mean, things went really well on some plays, and things went really bad on others. But they had a surge, looked like a comeback, and then Georgia State shut the door on them. So hey, you know what? That's football, as they say. It's a new program. He's building it, but still have my faith in Biff, and we're going to get there.
And your ability to just keep going is impressive, Representative. Did you guys run it back on the sticks on eSports after the game was done? Did you go back and run the tape already and try to figure out what went wrong?
You know what? I'm sure the coach did. I went home and played some John Madden football on my PC. But you know, thinking about the game, we were down on the sidelines with the coach. The coach and my son Jackson have struck a great friendship. And you know, like I say, you could rethink this game 1,000 times, but they'll look at the mistakes that were made. They'll make adjustments, and we're going to Florida, down to Gainesville, to the Gators this weekend. So that's exciting. That will be a tough game for sure. But the Gators aren't the Gators of old, so we might have a shot.
Don't sell yourself short like that. You guys could beat the Gators of old. Don't do that to yourself. Come on now. You can handle it. But you've also been working hard in Raleigh. It's been nonstop for you guys. I know for a while now. You sent out your newsletter yesterday, Inside Raleigh, hinted at the fact, are we going to see a vote this week on the budget? Is that what it's looking like?
I believe that's going to be the case. Yeah, we've been working hard. You know, it's hard when you get 170 people together and try to find some way to get to consensus, right? But I think we're there. This casino issue that the sentiment has been adamant about has been at the forefront for the last couple of weeks. Not a surprise to me, and it shouldn't have been a surprise to most members of my caucus, though they feigned some surprise. You know, straight out of the gate in May when the Senate sent their budget out, there was about a $3 billion, you know, what would be a hole if it weren't paid for some way. They had indicated they were working on casino and video lottery terminal legislation that our sheriffs have looked for years to try to find some way to manage these video lottery terminals that are out there. There's kind of in a gray area, so they call them gray games, as a matter of fact. So trying to regulate that. And then there's some interest in casinos since Virginia has theirs. So they came forward with their proposal finally. Took them a while. But we did get it. And then some members of my caucus kind of balked at that and said, no, we're not going to vote for a budget with that. So over the weekend, we started working, and it's like, how can we get to a happy place? Some folks wanted to vote up or down on casinos. So we're doing two different bills, kind of a clean budget bill that has most member projects and pay raises for teachers and pay raises for our highway patrolmen and so forth. And then another bill that has the Medicaid expansion and the casino lottery stuff. I don't really like Medicaid expansion. Some people don't really like casinos. So we'll see how that plays out. And both bills are dependent upon each other. But we'll get to a vote, I think, on Wednesday and Thursday of this week.
How do you find a way to put all those pieces together, herd a bunch of cats, and say, hey, okay, now let's compromise? How could you even start that process in Raleigh?
Well, it is painful. I guess it was last Monday or Tuesday. I can't remember which now. I've slipped since then, but went for a 4.5-hour caucus with members of my own party. And, you know, everything's been said, but not everybody had said it just yet. So we had to suffer through that. I think every member of our 72-member caucus had a little bit of something to say. It seems like it almost. But I mean, look, all opinions are valid, right? People come to the legislature with different perspectives. They have different life experiences. They have different things that they expect when they get there. So it is, I don't call it herding cats. I call it juggling cats. Because if you've ever tried that, and I haven't, I probably wouldn't suggest it. And Humane Society probably get on me for that. But it feels like what juggling cats would be like, right? I mean, you throw them all up in the air, and they're clawing, and they're scratching, and they're complaining the whole time. But you finally get to a process. We started this process back in really February, And so for 8, 9 months, we've been moving forward on trying to fine tune what the needs and wants and desires are of North Carolina citizens, what our needs are in government, and how to do that in the best way possible to keep us at the front. And we came up with a budget. The House budget came out in April. The Senate countered with their proposal in May, and we've been arguing ever since. So most of us are ready to be at home. I know I am. It is football season. It is still baseball season, as I heard you talking earlier. And there are other things we want to be doing at home. I've got a lot of things that I do in the fall with constituents and lots of fall festivals and things of that nature that we've got to get to. So really getting into this late season, it's been a little tough. Governor does not like our proposal. I was shocked. I mean, really just floored that he didn't on face value just say, we love what the Republicans are doing. I know this is a first, but we're going to try to mull through that anyway and see what happens when we put these votes to the floor.
Educate me here for a second, Representative. Look, you've been in Raleigh. You know how this process works. I have a very simple peanut-sized mind. Broad strokes, like conjunction, junction, what's your function me on the overall process of getting a budget passed? Working since February, that's a long time, and a lot of people are wondering, well, hey, what's been going on? Give us the high 10,000-foot overview on what it takes to pass a budget.
Yeah, if I could make it rhyme, it'd be even more interesting, like an ABC after-school special or something. But really, it starts at the committee level. We look at each department. It goes through various committees in the House, and it goes to various committees in the Senate. They find out what, whether it's Department of Information Technology or whether it's HHS, Health and Human Services, DMV, DOT. I mean, all the alphabet soups. And that takes a long while. I mean, it really does, as you're really planning for 2 years. So ours is a 2-year budget. We'll come back next year, tweak it a little bit, but we're laying out the plan for the next 2 years. So that takes a while. Then we alternate each biennium, which means every 2 years, one house gets it over the other. So it starts first, basically. So the House started this year first. So we got ours out in April. Senate took about a month, looked at our bill, said, okay, we agree with a lot of this, a lot of it we don't agree with. Here's the changes, and then send it back to us. Then we go to what they call conference. So that means that myself and my senior approach chairs and co-approach chairs go into a room with Senate approach chairs, and we spend hours upon hours upon hours each day going through painfully through each part of that budget. I mean, I've listened to more stuff about HHS than I ever cared to listen to, especially at 8 o'clock at night, 9 o'clock at night, as we sit there and go through that. Staff is there with us. We have a very capable staff. We have a nonpartisan staff. We bring in agency heads. We bring in department heads. Find out about, what is it about their ask that we need to fund? Because we're asked to fund a lot of money. It's $33 billion on your behalf. So that's a process, and it takes a long while. But then after you get most of it ironed out, then you kind of kick up what we call kick up to the corners, which is the Senate leader and the House leader. So the Speaker of the House and the Senate leader end up making decisions on a few minor things or could be big things that we're trying to work through. So that's taken some time. And then, lo and behold, we're not set on any clock like some legislatures, but I still think keeps it at the citizen level, meaning that the bureaucrats aren't running this show. We have a lot of say as citizens. And so, getting to an agreement sometimes can be difficult. This is really no different than any other year. It just becomes the narrative as you get into the fall, we can't get to a budget. The good news for people at home is we have a continuing resolution. It's not like the federal government where we shut down. We continue on last year's spending. It's really just about new spending, about pay raises for our employees and those type of things that we have to come to an agreement on.
Tell me and be honest with us here, Representative. We were trying to calculate, if we had to guess, how many nights have you slept in your office in Raleigh? I'm going to say I went more than 10. What do you think? Like, if you what's it been?
So to be fair, we're not supposed to sleep in our office, but I have, after coming out of a late night budget session, I have a very comfy sofa that is in my office, and I have got a little shut eye there. Woke up about 4 a.m. and then went down to the parking deck and checked out, and went home and showered, and came right back to go back to work. So I do get a nap every now and then because we do spend some hours there at the legislative building. You just get worn out, and sometimes you just need a little pick me up nap, and I'll do that. I've never slept there overnight. Leaving at 4 a.m. I think still qualifies as not sleeping the full night. But I woke up to know where I was. All the lights were on in the office, of course, and it was a lonely place there at the legislative building when you walk out at 4 a.m.
We're talking with Representative Saine. Saine, are you able to stick with us one more segment? Is that okay?
Sure.
Okay, we're gonna stick. We're gonna stick with Representative Saine during the digital break too, fam. WSICnews.com, all the social platforms. Radio fam, we're coming right back. All right, Representative Saine. Okay, so you broke the bill out into, from your newsletter, it looked like you've got just the pure budget, and then you guys had the Medicare. Is it Medicare or Medicaid? Again, peanut-sized brain.
Medicaid.
Okay, Medicaid
Yes,
expansion and the gambling stuff or the casino stuff. How did you land on that? Like, how were you guys able to actually separate it into two?
So that came from the Senate as an idea. Hey, our people are saying they don't want, the House were saying they don't want casinos and VLTs in the budget. And so, Senator Berger's a smart guy. He says, okay, I'll give you what you want. But by the way, I'm going to put Medicaid expansion in there. But then also our ARPA money, our American Rescue Plan money, right? So it's infrastructure money that's going to go into different places across the state, doing what we can do with that. So we haven't finalized everything. We'll do that today, throughout the day. But look, it is, we'll get that budget that people want. And then those that want a Medicaid expansion can get that. I voted against it. But I don't mind the casinos. I don't mind the VLT language, because I have thought for a long time that we needed to do something about that, because it's happening anyway. We just need to make sure we regulate it and bring it to the light of day. But yeah, it was kind of a Friday afternoon, 2:00 idea.
So are you talking about like the place I see that say like skills games? Is that gray area kind of places?
It is, because what would happen is legislation would come, or, that they would try to address it. They would change the game just enough that the law didn't apply to it. This would make it much more easy to regulate. Your sheriffs, a lot of your sheriffs have wanted to be able to, at least have some guidelines about how to approach it. Because otherwise, you see these little pop-up things. There's no protection for consumers. You could be playing a game that's basically just going to rob you, or you can at least have some set of regulations that would say, your payouts are going to be this, and you're at least going to have to, abide by these rules and regulations. I mean, it's still a gamble for sure, but it's not just something that is just there to totally take all of your money. You'll have a chance at winning. Have you guys like taken a field trip as a legislator in these kind of places? I've been in one, maybe two before, but like I don't gamble because I just lose. I'm not good at it, so I didn't know if you guys like travel, just see like what's going on. Not officially as a legislature. I've stopped in one or two of these places. Quite frankly, not a place I wanted to go to. What I call them kind of slots in a box. I mean, they're not slots, but they're little pop-up type casinos. This is the other problem with them, is they're a little bit seedy. There's a lot of chance for organized crime. If we don't deal with it, it's going to continue. It's not when you think of like Las Vegas style casinos, that's not what these little gray market games have been.
Let's rejoin real quick at radio. I'm sorry. Hold on one second for me. Yep.
No problem.
It's Good Morning LKN on the new 105.9, 100.7 WSIC.
Good morning, LKN. 748. Representative Jason Saine is on the line with us. Actually, video stream. So WSICnews.com, all the social platforms. You can also watch Representative Saine each week during his show, All Things Saine, which airs every Wednesday from 11 to noon here on WSIC. We're grateful for Representative Saine's time. He's been working hard in Raleigh. They've been working on a budget. They've been working on all kinds of things because, the government still has to keep going regardless of what I do during my day. Representative Saine, what else is going on in Lincoln County? You and your newsletter, Inside Raleigh, had a few shout-outs for Lincoln County locally. What's been going on here on the home turf for you guys?
Yeah, so kind of cool thing, state government related, but bringing it back to the hometown. A couple of years ago in one of the budgets, we were able to secure funding for all four of our high schools to have the turf for the athletic fields installed, paid for. Part of when you end up with surplus budgets, returning it back to the communities. Each community got something. Ours, we thought would be a good idea to get this artificial turf to our high schools. So just a couple of weeks ago at the Lincolnton at East Lincoln football game, I was honored by both schools and got some swag there at the 50-yard line, Lincoln High School gear where I graduated from. But once you become the elected official for all your county, you become a fan of all teams. So I got my East Lincoln Mustangs gear as well. So I alternate. Can't wear them together. I think that'd be
You
kind
should
of
do it.
passe.
Throw the
But,
combo together. Throw the combo. Come on.
I don't know. I can't do that. But I'm very proud to wear the gear for each school, but more importantly, very happy to be able to do that for those schools. And this coming budget, you will see this week when we put it online, with kind of following that same line, there'll be lighting for those athletic fields. So if you've gone to it, it's not like going to a Panthers game. It's high school, what they could afford lighting when they built the stadium way back when. So this will help do some upgrades for that as well. And always, I always keep kind of a list of local projects. We certainly try to help our fire departments. We've had a laundry list of things that we were helping. Last year, East Lincoln Fire Department got funding for their new substation, fastest growing area of the county, needed some help. Denver Fire Department got a new fire truck a year or two ago. So those type of things that you'll see in this budget as well. There's some would say port project, but these really just go right back into the community. So it's not for some one person. It's really just for the communities to be able to leverage some of those funds and get something for the community. You'll see a lot of that. You'll see a lot of infrastructure funding in this next budget. But yeah, by and large, Lincoln County doing well. We got our start on the school year. Everybody got back to school fine. It's now they're back into the doldrums of school. My kid left just a little while ago for school. He's like, "Oh, Dad, it's Monday." I was like, "Yeah, son, but you're just one step closer to Friday."
That's what I said. I schlepped in pretty late this morning. Thankfully, Bill had everything prepped and ready for me. I was looking a little rough before the show, so thankfully we've got a top-notch team here. So education, pretty big conversation in the state, really in the country. How do you feel it landed within the budget, and kind of what were some of the things that you were specifically paying attention to with education?
Well, it has been and always will be the largest spend in our state budget of the $33 billion roughly. I think somewhere between 55 and 60% of that budget goes toward education, whether it be K-12, which is the bulk of it, but also our community colleges, also for our university system. So lots of investment there. We're doing some things for. I don't want to spoil it, but we're doing some things for our community colleges, like at Gaston College, which is real important to the Lincoln County side of things. Lincoln County and Gaston College have a partnership, so we have a campus in Lincoln and a campus, the main campus in Gastonia, or Dallas actually proper. But we've got a $60 million investment in a building for health sciences. We desperately need nurses and healthcare practitioners that are out there. We need a pipeline because we are falling short. We need that workforce. So those type of things are in that budget as well. So that's it's quote education, but it's also workforce. We've got to get them educated to have them to be able to work. I mean, that's kind of the goal of education, if you will. So getting those folks prepared and ready for the labor force is very important. Like I say, lots of investment in our K-12 and security, but also in just good old fashioned, reading, writing, and arithmetic, if you will. Lots to do there. Health and Human Services also a big spend. Always roads. We talk about roads all the time on WSIC because we're the fastest growing area in the state, and roads can't keep up with our growth. I always tell people like, "Hey, did you call us 20 years ago to let us know you were coming?" It is hard to do that, right? You don't just build them overnight, but we can laugh about it. It stinks though when you got to sit in traffic, and I'm as painfully aware as the rest of us, and just trying to move the needle on that, get things in the investments right, get things where we can try to play catch up. Unfortunately, you have to play catch up on some of those, but education being the most important thing that we do, and making sure that we get those funds out to those people and who are part of that education system. And I always saying my highway patrolmen are some of the most important people in the state. Our correctional officers that have to deal with criminals. You couldn't pay me to do that job. We've got some pay raises for them as well. That's a tough job. A lot of times goes unthanked for what they do, the sacrifices they make. So we want to make sure that we're honoring them. I will tell you, it falls somewhere between the Senate position and the House position. Obviously, I like the House position better. I'm a House guy and a House budget writer. But I think at the end of the day, we've come up with another great budget that we can be proud of. We just need to get it voted out and go home.
We're speaking with Representative Jason Saine, who represents Lincoln County, also conference chair in North Carolina and co-chair of appropriations. Is that right? I'm sorry if I get your title. You got so many titles. I feel like I get them all wrong all the time. I'm so sorry.
Well, titles are free. So, I'm the senior chair of appropriations, but conference leader as well. So conference leader in the House means that for the House Republicans means I'm responsible for our reelection efforts for all of our caucus. Which gives me a seat at the leadership table as well as the appropriation chairmanship. So it's fun. I enjoy being a servant and being a part of it. I get a lot of reward out of it. Some days are better than others, obviously, but there's a lot of joy in just knowing that you can make a difference and make an impact.
We got a couple minutes left here. Wanted to see last week, the hot topic, the phones started blowing up when I started talking about the lithium stuff going on in North Carolina. Alternative energy, whatever we want to call it, is that at all part of the budget, or do you guys say we're going to save that for a different conversation? How does that work?
That's really a different conversation. That's not a part of the budget necessarily, but it is a hot topic for sure. Clean energy. I used to chair our emerging markets and energy committee back in the day. We have been in this conversation for a long, long time. The lithium stuff is important because we all like our little devices, right? And they're all powered off lithium batteries. And as much as people don't want those mines around their home or in their area, they do want their devices. So it's like, it's today's gold, if you will. But that'll certainly end up being something that falls in the purview of the legislature to some degree. But also clean energy always remains a part of it as well. When Tesla first came into North Carolina, they couldn't sell their cars. We had to write special legislation, and I got to be a part of the negotiation team on that, where you could buy your Tesla. It was because we had a different way that the auto dealers dealt with it. So I worked with the auto dealers, found I think a good happy medium, and everybody ended up either as equally happy or as equally mad as you will, and we kind of moved on. So that's kind of behind us. But clean energy, people want cleaner energy. I think we all do. I think whether you're the incumbent, Duke Energy, you see that we're shutting down coal plants, but that comes at a cost. But you don't want to raise rates for the consumer. And so trying to keep those things in a fine balance is very, very hard, very difficult, and trying to meet federal standards too that are sometimes like they really are a moving target, particularly when you switch administrations. You go from one that's pretty reasonable as far as clean energy, and the next one that kind of goes all out. So we're trying to really just to make sure that we've got an all-in policy, that we look at things that make sense for the consumer, that is cleaner, better for all of us.
Medical marijuana, did that end up being anywhere, or is it like, hey, we're going to put that to the side and bring that conversation back at the appropriate time later on?
So it came out of the Senate. We just can't get enough votes in our caucus to move it forward. I've really come 180 degrees on medical marijuana over the years. I've never smoked marijuana myself. It's not something I do, casually. And this is really not about that anyway. It's about medical marijuana. It's about treatment for people with cancer and other diseases that to help ease their discomfort and find them comfort. Senator Bill Raven has been a leader on this, a thought leader on this. He's got some personal experiences with family members that are going through some things. So he has a pretty good story to tell. I think it's one of those things that it takes some time for folks to either accept it or to become comfortable or be more educated about it. I've spent a lot of time just reading and trying to find out as much as I can about that issue. I've even gone with a group of legislators, which we paid for, not the state, to go down to Mississippi and see how they regulate that, and see how you would grow it, how you would regulate it, what that would look like. So it's a conversation that's ongoing. I don't see it coming up in the House this year. We just don't have the momentum. So it's kind of a standstill now. There was some rumor over the weekend, of course, rumors flying like crazy. I had to put my phone on Do Not Disturb. There were so many calls, but that medical marijuana would be in the budget. That is not the case. It will not be in this budget. But I do think it's going to be an ongoing topic because legislators really need to hear how you feel one way or the other. But I've gotten a lot of, particularly our veterans who've suffered through PTSD and found this as a treatment that they can utilize in the right way. I think a measured market, a transparent market, and a regulated market probably makes sense, but we're not there yet.
All right, we're talking with Representative Jason Saine. Representative Saine, we appreciate your time. Real quick, we got about 30 seconds here. Now that if the budget passes, does just the legislator go home and go take a nap, or like do you guys still have to do some work?
Yeah, for about 2 days. Then we got to come back and do redistricting. But we're that much closer. Once we get this behind us, we can move on. So hopefully, fingers crossed, in the next couple of weeks, I'll be a free man for a little while.
All right, Representative Jason Saine, you can listen to him every week. Watch him every week on All Things Saine here on WSIC News, WSICnews.com, and all the social platforms. Got to stay informed. We're happy to provide you access to the leadership. That's what we want to do. Good morning, fam. We're coming right back. Thanks, Representative.